Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic. I am your host, Jared the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and we are all operating from different star systems this week, everybody, because the Blue Shadow virus is real. I am joined this week, not in the flesh for obvious health reasons, by the lore keeper, Connor Chikiti.
Hello there, everybody.
We got the Dark Professor himself, Levi Baum.
Hi. No, that's wrong. The Oil Boyos. How's it going?
Oil Boyos, indeed. We have the Sentinel, Joel Basin back.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's staying safe this fine morning.
I almost had a stroke and tried to say Basin back and Bass and Bacon in the same breath and almost came out Baxkamba. And then we have Spence the Mando Simpson himself.
You know, I've been trying to figure out what part of my search history prompted a recommended to show up on my Google page that's entitled, "This is how to stop shaving rash on all your bikini lines once and for all. A former stripper has taken to Reddit to share her tested secrets."
For scientific reasons, can you please share a link?
Yeah, sure. I think I just kind of scrolled through. I think the basics were like, use a men's razor, make sure you exfoliate before you shave. Like, I don't know what, like, just as I was pulling up the article, Stubby, for the Mandalorian stuff today, that popped up in like in a Google ad for some reason, and I was like, what in my search history prompted this?
That is always the best. That is always the best conversation one can have with themselves. Is what did I search that made this happen?
In the past to allow this to presently show up.
Wow.
I remember whenever I first became enamored with the app Wish and used it for like a month because I was like, this is cool. I got a cheap but cool looking watch. This is like a couple years ago, and I was like, oh, and there's like random like cosplay bits that like this isn't like a whole costume. This is replaceable enough. I'm not worried about it. And then one day it was just nothing but sex toys, and I was just so terrified because I was like, I ordered jeans, a watch, and like I tried to get Spencer a new Jedi robe for his birthday, and I was like, and now it's like. It's all this horrible, terrifying things. One of which was referred to as a hot dog eating mask. I'll let your imaginations do the work on that one. But yeah, so if you want a good time with the algorithm thinking you're a horrible, horrible, debaucherous monster, try out Wish. With that,
incredible.
Connor, how was your week?
It was pretty decent. I mean, just trying to survive with all this blue shadow virus hubbub happening in the world. Classes are going pretty decent online. And I also got back into Battlefront 2.
Which one?
The 2017 version. I can confirm it's pretty fun right now. I mean, but then again, all I've been really playing is like the offline modes. So like instant action and co-op.
Yeah.
Even co-op is like sort of online, which is I think really cool. It's like, I don't know if you guys know, but co-op is like you play with 4 like people online and you just face off against AI, which is pretty dope and up my alley because I'll face AI enemies all day. So, and it's I gotta say it's pretty fun. So,
yeah, I've been meaning to play a little bit more of the 2017 Battlefront 2. I know this week I've been playing a lot of the old school Battlefront 2 because I bought it on the Xbox store and have been replaying it. And I forgot how much I love the middle section of Rise of the Empire. Like, from Utapau to Naboo. Like, those are all my favorite missions. Right there, like ducks in a row. It's like boom, 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 boom. They're the most fun in the game.
Is that when... does that include Operation Nightfall?
Yeah, it
Okay,
goes
yeah.
the Battle of Utapau. Mostly because my favorite thing to do is force yeet Grievous off of the hangar bay. And then Operation Nightfall is iconic. Everybody loves it. And then I love the Naboo mission just because, like, I don't know, it feels like Imperial Black Ops. Where the whole, like, you have, okay, all right, troopers, go assassinate this head of state.
Yeah, I love it.
So I feel that. Levi, how was your week, buddy?
I discovered a new music artist.
Yeah?
I don't know how to pronounce her name. Either Anli or Anli. And she's her voice is very good. She sings in language I do not understand, so I will be listening to that music today. I don't know what I'm gonna be listening to, but I know I like it.
Levi.
I'm glad. I'm happy you found a new artist.
I just checked Twitter, and it's a shame Travis is not here. But well, you're gonna know this soon, Jaren. One of the top heroes in My Hero Academia is now officially animated. So she's in the anime now. And yeah, that's gonna be a good episode to watch today. I'm incredibly bored. I'm so bored. This week sucks.
Has anyone?
Ooh. Don't open
It's
Snapchat
just
next to a microphone.
Play League with my brother and get mad until 3 a.m. Wake up at 1. Do nothing until 8, and then do the same thing. It's not healthy.
I wouldn't mind that. That's just me.
We're all going to get a little stir crazy during these weeks. The professor is going to become the mad professor very soon.
I'm always the mad professor.
Well, a different kind of mad.
Mad as in angry.
We know you're surly.
Okay.
That's one of the best words in the English language.
Oh, man. I hope you're staying sane, Levi, and I hope we can make your day a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, and one more thing.
Yeah.
I just figured out that I was using the wrong command for the music bot. So I can now get Fredboat to play music.
Well, be warned that there might be some amount of copyright issue with that if you play it while we're recording. But I'm glad you figured out Music Bot.
Mm-hmm.
Joel, how was your week, buddy?
Well, you see, I agree very much with Travis in the fact that I can't find motivation to do about anything.
Yep.
And then on the days that I do feel motivation to do something, I have nothing to do. So then I just get even more depressed because even when that I want to do something, I can't.
Yeah, that's relatable. I'm sorry, buddy.
I haven't been doing much of anything except stuff for the show and homework.
Yes.
Maybe occasionally I would sit out on the porch and read a book that a mighty friend over there, Spencer, allowed me to borrow from him.
Yes, hello, that's me.
Be sure to disinfect it.
Oh, I did. Don't worry.
Not taking any chances here.
Right.
This hurts my soul to not be doing this in the same room right now. I'm like,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, boy, this sucks.
this is
Listen to us. This is some limp noodle right here.
just by comparison. Like I Spencer back in whenever we were with DDN, Spencer and I had like a spiritual awakening the first time he and I got to record Hall of Heroes together in person.
It was an experience unlike anything I could have ever expected.
Like
It was like we went from having like pretty business casual like conversation about the news to like going completely AWOL.
It didn't.
Like,
It didn't hurt that
completely
we
crazy.
both made a group executive decision to just be like, we don't cover Game of Thrones on this show, but we don't cover Game of Thrones on any other show. We're talking about the Game of Thrones finale tonight.
Yeah. And hilarity ensued.
But like we always talk about the classic Mike Dolan quote of, ride the eyes of the dragon and then tell me who you think you are. Like, we rode the eyes of the dragon that night.
It was incredible.
And I hate that there's no dragons in this room right now. Because we've all gotten spoiled with the fact that we've always had someone in the room for the past year. We're back to just talking to ourselves in the basement. Spencer, how was your week, buddy?
My week was pretty okay. Online classes overall were not as awful as they could have been, but my observation-based physics class, which was already a pain in the neck when I was in the lab actually doing the observations, has been made exponentially more frustrating by the fact that I'm doing it through a Teams call. But
no.
that being said, it wasn't too bad. I kind of binged Harry Potter and have been working on this paint by number that I started a year and a half ago. And I'm on a real kick right now. And even though my black acrylic paint has completely dried up and I'm going to need to get some more, I feel like I can finish it in the next week. That's very exciting.
Hell yeah.
So,
Nice.
but I don't know if I said this on the show last week, but one of my friends from school, Jeb, came home with me because he didn't want to go home to Iowa. So last week we pounded through to 100% completion the entire Lego Lord of the Rings video game in 5 days. And it just so happens that I also have the Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4. So we're planning to start that this weekend. So yeah, it's been a time for sure. So we're having a good time.
I'm glad you are.
And everything.
I'm glad you are.
One of you shared with me some very depressing news that the Latrobe Pizza Hut has shut down permanently.
Yeah, well, because on part of my slice of life turned 22 this week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. But normally I get Pizza Hut on my birthday. And I was like, oh, well, all the restaurants are still doing carry out. And I went to Google their number just to make sure that was still a thing. And then it was like permanently closed. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. And just because the one in Greensburg closed right before that. And I was like, well, shit. And I was like, well, there is one in Greensburg somewhere. So I ended up getting that. But they don't have stuffed crust pizza. I'm like,
what?
I've been had by Yum Corp. Okay?
Dude, stuffed crust pizzas.
They've had their way with me, and I'm not happy about it.
Wow. I guess for stuffed crust, you gotta drive to Mount Pleasant now.
Yeah, that or like I know they have some stuffed crust with like the Walmart pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know we had that when we were watching Death Note. But yeah, turned 22. That was some fun. Had some drink and watched Frozen 2 with a friend of ours via the computer because quarantine time.
Plus?
Yes. So cool. that was a whole lot of fun. I want to do another like what we're watching and reading and whatnot to get us through the quarantine segment on the Nerd Academy proper. However, have any of you watched The Tiger King on Netflix yet?
No, but I keep seeing memes about it.
All of you. We could do a whole podcast about The Tiger King. This shit is wild. Okay? It's about... I watched all of it yesterday, and I'm not proud of that. At all.
I would be.
That was eight episodes of 45-minute increments of my life that I am so happy I sacrificed, but I'm not proud of it. So it centers around mostly 3 people. There is a man, the main focus on it, the Tiger King himself, the titular Tiger King, is a man named Joe Exotic, whom I want you to think of like the most motley crew of like rednecks and hillbillies that you can imagine. Now I want you to like make them into like an overblown cartoon character. Maybe you can imagine his staff. And it's his whole antics and how like his whole brand is like, I'm the crazy meth head gay cowboy who owns a whole army of tigers. Yee yee, pop pop. And then his rival, Carol Binney, who basically runs like her own version of PETA. It's called Big Cat Rescue. And like a bunch of people think that Carol murdered her ex-husband and fed him to a tiger. So like just so you have an idea of like what's going on with Carol. And then like there's this third guy that they occasionally cut to who like we don't get a whole lot of time with, but like you can tell that this guy has his own empire going on. This guy named Doc Antle, who also has a massive tiger park. But Doc Antle's whole thing is that like the Doc Antle is because he has a doctorate in mystical science.
Oh. Okay.
And has like 5 wives and all of his.
Is he a Mormon?
I don't know. He's something. He all of his wives are staff at his park, and like when they join the staff and like become a part of his weird tiger sex cult, which it's the Star Wars show. Welcome to it. Like he like makes them change their names and like dictates their outfits on the park and shit. This dude, I've felt so many emotions watching the Tiger King, and it never, just when I was like, okay, this can't get any weirder, I was wrong. And it just got weirder and weirder and weirder and stranger. And I kind of, again, I've come to the conclusion that maybe we deserved COVID-19.
Wow.
We kind of do.
Maybe after the Tiger King, maybe it is time for a mass culling.
Holy shit.
Maybe it's time. I'm kidding. I don't actually believe that, but the Tiger King is a hoot. With that, we're gonna hop into the news here. Please, God, watch the Tiger King. I'm begging all of you, please. We have not a whole lot of news. We only have 2 stories this week. One of which was broken by our buddy Jason Ward of the Making Star Wars Network, and it was Jason Ward, not Deadline. We got some reading directly from his headline: Baby Yoda-sized tidbits about Michael Bihn's character in season 2 of The Mandalorian. Is it Biehn or Ben? Because he has it labeled as a can of beans. So I'm assuming that's what the pun
I feel like
is.
it could go either way, but like at the same time.
Well, I'm leaning into Jason's pun with the beans thing then. Up front, there are a few minor details I left out of my story about Michael Biehn from earlier this week. Biehn is playing a bounty hunter from the Mandalorian's past. These threads are really loose and open, which is why I didn't include them initially, as I was hoping for more details to emerge first. However, since we're all bored in our own self-imposed quarantine, here's some Baby Yoda-sized details. I've heard that Biehn's bounty hunter character had his costume inspired by his character in Tombstone, Johnny Ringo, and I wonder if it is accented in red. The second is Biehn's character supposedly has a lot of lines that riff on things Biehn has said in past iconic roles, like Aliens, Terminator, and Navy SEALs and Tombstone. If you're an 80s action movie fan, there's going to be something that you might recognize. With that, we know that Biehn is playing a bounty hunter from Din Djarin's past. His costume was inspired by his role in Tombstone, blah, blah, blah. It is pretty cool to see Robert Rodriguez confirmed as originally reported by HN. Rodriguez is an amazing action director, and I'm happy to hear he's coming on to direct some of The Mandalorian. So yeah, that was another story that just kind of flew under the radar. Like it kind of dropped like right after an episode of Nights dropped, but like kind of fizzled out afterwards. But Robert Rodriguez is directing a couple episodes of The Mandalorian. And it looks like The Mandalorian is it's leaning more into its Western roots by the look of it.
Yeehaw. Thank goodness.
Which makes me very excited. So yeah, we got Terminator alum here, another Predator alum. Or no, what the fuck am I talking about? He was no, what?
Oh, Bill Burr's returning according to Deadline.
Dope.
Yeah.
Me excited.
Is he playing the same character? Or is he playing another ass?
I think he's playing the same character.
Yeah, I think he's still playing Mayfeld. That was another one I didn't include because I thought it was a given he'd be back.
Yeah. I can't wait to see more Bill Burr in Star Wars, but that's just me.
Bill Burr as Bill Burr under the alias
Mayfield. Basically, I love it.
Like the least Star Warsy name.
Before we forget, we have one other small little tidbit of news that really has no downside. So, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer might be the best video game ever produced by the Star Wars franchise, or one of, and it's a solid racing game. And it is being ported for the Switch and the PlayStation 4. So, if you guys remember Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the pod racing game, and enjoyed that in the past, it is being refitted for the Switch and PS4. So look for that. That's all.
How do you like that?
I got a blast from the past for you guys. You guys remember for like a good year and a half when the Latrobe skating rink had that in its arcade?
No.
That the arcade version? Dude, I love that shit. It was so much fun. I'm not even a racing guy, but I was like, ooh, pod racing. This is fun.
This is
pod. Ah, you beat me.
Great minds think alike, Levi.
They do.
Dude, you and I really think alike on most things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed.
Are there any games you guys would like to see get a remaster or a port to a modern console that haven't gotten that love yet? Well, Battlefront 2 is, yeah.
Wait, is it?
It hasn't been like fully remastered, but like it's available to buy. Like
I want the PSP edition of Battlefront 2 on Xbox One.
I think they'll have to get back to you on that one, Joel.
There are I'm gonna have to look up old Star Wars games now.
The PSP Battlefront 2
Republic,
is my favorite.
I feel like Republic Commando should be on PS4, but that's just me.
That is honestly one of the most interesting games I've ever played.
I want to play it so bad.
The mechanic of Republic Commando is unlike any FPS I've ever played, and it's incredible. I love it.
See, Republic Commando is available in the Xbox store, and I did play it, and I couldn't get into it.
I need an Xbox now. Screw it.
Yes, join us, my son.
I mean, yeah.
Levi, do you have any?
What do you mean, Spencer? That it's just unique.
Well, it's very obviously squad based. Like most FPSs, like even the Battlefront games, it's like you operate as yourself, and then like you're like a one man army, and most of the time you end up doing most of the work for your entire team in the old Battlefront games and even in the new Battlefront. But like in Republic Commando, you are one commando in a 4-man squad, and you're like the squad leader, and they don't do anything unless you tell them to do it. So like if you need to set a demo charge, it's like press F to order a demo charge, and like you press F and your little character like waves his hand and he's like, set some demolition charges, trooper, and like one of them scoots over and sets a demolition charge, and it might take like 10 seconds, but then like after he sets it, you pull up a little like trigger button, and it's like press F to detonate, and you pull out your button and you click it and it blows up. Or you can like order them to take a sniper position, and then from like there they can offer cover fire, or you can order them to chuck grenades from behind a certain wall or like a box on the floor. It's like the mechanic is very much like you have to think in terms not just of what you're doing, but how you can set up the rest of your squad for best effectiveness. Exactly. And like you can do door breaches, they like you go up to a door and you have an option to have your tech guy slice the door open, or you can set it up to have like a breach where like you line up on either side of the door. They like bust the door open, somebody chucks a grenade in, and then wait a second, and then everybody goes. Like the mechanic, it is a first person shooter, but it's much more involved. Yeah. Like in terms of how you need to be going about the game and like there are back to machines throughout the game, and like that's how you recover health as a troop. But like your soldiers won't recover their health unless you tell them to.
Holy crap!
So like you go to a section and there's a couple Bacta machines, you have to be like, you have to press F. Now I play it on a PC, so it's like press F to get Bacta, and you wave your hand and you're like, get some Bacta trooper, and they're like, yes sir, and they walk over and then they heal up and then they come back into the squad formation, and it's like, it's just so interesting. It's so much fun. I love it. It's to this day one of my top 3 favorite video games I've ever played. It is incredible.
It is a very dynamic game. It was never for me. I've never been much of a first person shooter person to begin with. So
yeah, it's definitely you can't be one without first being the other.
Yeah.
And like it even though it is more involved and it's worth it to try it, even if you're not a first person shooter kind of guy, it's like you to truly enjoy and love the game, you have to first be a willing FPS player. So
yeah, I gotcha.
Jared, what were you gonna ask me?
If there were any like old school Star Wars games you wanted to see get a modern day port.
Yeah, and you knew as soon as you asked that.
Yes,
Shadows of the Empire.
I know. I got to throw the bone every time. I want to give you opportunity to be the Dash stan that we all know that you
Dude,
are.
it would be so awesome if that game were playable by modern standards.
I've heard a lot of people talk about how like, yeah, this was fun at the time, but now this is kind of a slog to attempt to play.
It's really true. It is true. I went back like 2-3 years ago, tried to play it. Oh, I got dizzy.
Yeah.
Damn.
I couldn't play it. Like the level with the swooper gang, like you had to bike your way to Luke Skywalker before he gets killed by this biker gang, and you like take them all out. That used to be the most fun level because you were on a bike too, and now it is that is wonky. But yeah, if they can remaster that game, make it playable, whew,
The idea of
really good game.
Luke Skywalker just getting jumped by a biker gang unto itself is pretty entertaining. Like, hashtag not my Luke Skywalker. He could totally fight the Hells Angels.
Totally.
I know me personally, I don't know if I've brought it up much on this show, but Star Wars Obi-Wan, unlike Levi, please leave the game as unplayable as it is already, because that's part of the charm with that lovely piece of shit.
You speak my language.
Oh god, that game's so bad and I love it. I have the same relationship with Obi-Wan, the game, that like Travis has with Assassin's Creed 3 that he's been talking about a lot, where he's like, I hate this game. This is so bad and it makes me love it so much. This is borderline not functional.
One is that?
Star Wars Obi-Wan?
No, the Assassin's Creed.
Oh no, 3 is the Revolutionary War one where you play as a Native American.
What?
Yeah, that's
Native
dope.
American.
So what's the Ezio Chronicles then?
The Ezio Chronicles are Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed Revelations.
So Brotherhood and Revelation do not count as 3 and 4.
No. They kind of introduced like a loose rule that they never super stuck hard with. Or the rule at first was it was a new number when there was a new assassin. And that's why like Assassin's Creed 1 was the Altair guy. And then they got to 2 with Ezio, kept that. And then 3 was Connor. And then they went, okay, and now here's 4 with Edward Kenway. And then after that, they just stopped with numbers.
Mm.
And at that point, it was just Assassin's Creed Rogue, Assassin's Creed Unity, and, you know.
What company is that?
Ubisoft.
They break my balls. They need to learn how to name video games.
Hey, at least they number them in the right order, unlike the franchise we talk about on this show.
Yeah, true.
At least they
It's the
can
right
count
order.
forwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see Star Wars Obi-Wan come to the modern consoles. Again, leave it just as terrible as it was. Or I would love to see the Revenge of the Sith game make a comeback, because that might be my all-time favorite. If I'm being like removing my nostalgia for Obi-Wan and being objective about it, it is not a great game. However, the Revenge of the Sith game is amazing.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Holy crap.
Because when you put the Revenge of the Sith game especially with Battlefront 2. You put those two next to each other. I don't understand why we have so little content about the Purge. Or not the Purge itself, but like the attack on the temple. I don't understand why that is so unexplored. Like even in Legends, like, and I understand the whole, like, you know, it's kind of more mysterious and messed up if you don't tell people exactly what happened in there. And like, you know, like all you know is like, you know, you see them marching in, you see a few Jedi get gunned down. Obviously there's the youngling scene. And then you just see Obi-Wan and Yoda show up and just walking through this, what has essentially just been turned into a mass grave for all the Jedi there. I understand the principle of not showing what happened in there, but I think that you get into Anakin's like really bloodthirsty headspace a lot better if you get to experience all of it. And I think that you can kind of alleviate the whole Anakin turning to the dark side basically within the span of an hour issue by showing us him letting that, you know, like letting the devil in essentially, and him just like embracing the fact that like everybody knows about him, but nobody wants to talk about the fact that Anakin Skywalker likes to kill people. Yeah. And that there is some evil part of him that legitimately enjoys taking a life. And I love that bit in the Revenge of the Sith game is him gleefully killing people. And it's him finally taking those training wheels off. It's like the Superman quote from the Justice League cartoon where he's like, you know, all my life I felt like I was living in a world of cardboard. Well, now I have a rare opportunity where I can cut loose and show you people what I'm truly capable of. And I feel like that was Anakin. Like that was the moment. And, you know, and granted, Superman saying that the dark side, and, you know, Superman's justified in beating the ever-living piss out of Darkseid in that scene. But Anakin has felt so pent up for so long, but like this is his time. And like all of his frustrations towards the Jedi, towards the Order, can be unleashed in this very gruesome, terrible way. And it makes Anakin outside of Darth Vader's suit way scarier and more of a threat, and to me at least. I totally understand not wanting to see what happened in there. The show I personally wouldn't mind seeing it, but that's just probably just to see like pretty much what you're saying, Jared, just to see like the lengths Anakin went to satisfy this darkness within him, and not the whole, oh, I want to see Anakin being a badass by killing, like those people. Like there are some people I've seen on Twitter that unironically say that, and I'm like, oh, okay, you should get help. Well, because I also think, especially with quick round table here. How many of you guys noticed that whenever Obi-Wan's watching the security hologram, noticed that Anakin is actively choking somebody out when he's fighting all those Jedi? Because I've only just recently noticed that. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about in the Clone Wars or in the movies, or both?
In the movies, whenever Obi-Wan is watching the security holograms, there's a bit where and it's like the half a second cameo that Sin Dralik has live action. And whenever Obi-Wan's watching, it's like, I can't watch anymore. That scene, whenever you see Anakin swarmed by Jedi and he's fighting all of them, one of the Jedi, he is just walking back with his hand around their throat, and that's why he only is swinging his lightsaber with one hand. Now, I remember for years being like, why does this like little bit here look so like lazy? And I'm like, why is Hayden just kind of like wailing his one hand around? And it's like, no, he's strangling somebody.
Like, I will have to rewatch Revenge.
And not like a force choke. Like he has his hand around their neck.
Oh.
And it's terrifying. Spencer, have you noticed that bit? Have you seen that bit?
No, I've never.
Go back and watch. Levi, am I crazy? Or do you know what you do? Have you seen that?
No.
Instantly, I was like, this is why I want to see more of this. Just that brutality. Joel, I'm assuming you haven't either. Because I only noticed it because I saw something on like Twitter or Instagram that was like, anybody else notice this? And I was like, nope, never have. Went back and watched the scene. Anakin strangling people. It's very gruesome and enhances the scene for me. Because you get a lot more of, you know, with then again, I like looking at like Vader and Kylo as kind of two sides of the same coin. And like what it means to like force yourself into the dark side, where Anakin was like, oh yeah, well, I have to actively make this decision. And once he made the decision, he was just off like a freight train. And it did not take much for him to just commit to these atrocities. But Ben had to like actively be like, yes, I'm evil. I can convince myself of this. I love that dichotomy there. But yeah. Star Wars games conversation. I'm here for it. Lastly, we have our episode of the Clone Wars this week. Deal, no deal. No Howie Mandel cameo, unfortunately. Oh God, I hope Howie Mandel's doing all right.
Yeah, that poor man.
Holy shit. This is his worst case scenario right now. I can only imagine the absolute terror that beautiful bald man is living in right now. Much love to Howie Mandel. What do we think of the episode this week?
Much better than the last one.
Yeah, still not ideal, but better.
Much better. I agree. I quite enjoyed this one, actually.
It was dope.
Yeah. Joel, your thoughts?
Well, you see, I thought it was a lot better than last week's, but I still am not enjoying the storyline here that they're doing with Ahsoka.
Yeah, I understand that. I get what they're trying to do. Also, going back to the the very long-winded debate we had last week about where in the timeline this takes place, I'm back to thinking that this happened just after she left. Because there's that one line in the intro where he says, a lesson that Ahsoka just learned herself. I'm like, just learned? What is happening? Why is all of this so confusing? You already tell the story out of order. Why are you making this harder to keep track of, too? And anytime Dave Filoni does an AMA, we all have to grill him about it. I really did like this episode. I am swinging back and forth between really liking and really disliking Trace and Rafa.
Yeah, me too.
Like, and
I hate them both.
Not necessarily in like I think they're written poorly. I think they're written adequately. It's just how they're characterized makes me not like them as people. Like Rafa, I don't understand how somebody can be like that bad at doing something that they think they're really good at. Like it would be like if Han Solo obviously mostly talks out of his ass, but every so often he can back it up just enough for people to not realize how often he's talking out of his ass.
Yeah.
Here, Rafa is all ass talk.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wearing on me that like how do you not just tell somebody, hey, I may or may not have gotten us in bed with the Pikes?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those, and I hate doing like the whole kind of like CinemaSins thing, but it is very CinemaSinsian where you have the whole like this is a plot point that could be easily resolved by two people having a normal conversation.
Yeah. Like, so my review of this episode, it was pretty good. I actually, for me, most of the episodes right now are just kind of like equally dope. There's no really standouts yet, but they're all still pretty good. I don't know if anyone else thought of this, but when Trace dropped the spice, I was immediately taken back to Legends Han Solo dropping the spice. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I wasn't the only one, but I don't know. I kind of like part of me really likes this conflict between Rafa and Trace, and Ahsoka trying to be like the middleman, but she really can't be. But then the other part of me is like, well, I like that conversation that they had on the ship after she dropped, like either before or after she dropped this. A lot of this is unclear for the characters, and one sentence or two could just clear everything up, which infuriated me a tiny bit. But at the same time, this is a 4-episode arc, and I can kind of chart where this arc might be going. But at the same time, I'm not entirely sure.
I gotta find out she's a Jedi.
Not even that, but like just with their current predicament.
Ahsoka's gonna be a Jedi.
I mean, she's going to have to do some Jedi shit to get out of this one.
Yeah, obviously. She did some Jedi stuff in the first episode with using the Force. But I don't know. I like the conflict, but at the same time, it could have been more... I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it if I do rewatch it and not spend most of my Star Wars time either playing Battlefront 2 or Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah, their conflict was, I thought, pretty good. Could have been handled a bit better. I really like seeing Kessel, like that part of Kessel. Because at first, when we got to Kessel, at first I thought, oh, this is Kessel before Solo. And then once they transitioned over, I'm like, oh, no, it's just a part of Kessel we haven't seen before.
Kind of like with Mustafar and Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. One of the things that I hate about Star Wars in the world building aspect of it is that it makes it seem like one planet is completely the same all the way around sometimes.
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
And so, and that's just not astronomically realistic. Earth has so many different regions on it, based on climate and all kinds of, and like we got to see a little bit of that in Rise of Skywalker, where there's the side of Mustafar that's all volcanic, but now there's this other side which is like volcanic soil, but there's still stuff growing on it, and there's like trees, and now we get to see with Kessel, there's the very dusty mining side of it, but there's also like a very, what do you call it? Lush. That's perfect. Yeah. Like I love seeing that variety just even within a single planet, where I think the stereotype is made oftentimes, especially with planets like Hoth, or like previously with Mustafar, or even Kashyyyk and Tatooine, Coruscant. Like the list goes on and on of planets that have very, very little regional diversity.
Yeah.
And it's like the planet itself represents the galaxy is diverse, but planets aren't, and that's the world we've been made to believe is the case in Star Wars. And I like that variation, just even within single planets. Like that's good. Give me more of that.
Like, yeah. Now that you mentioned Coruscant, I would love to see Coruscant outside of the city. Unless we have seen it before. I don't
think there is one.
No, in Legends, in Darth Maul Shadowhunter, I know that they called attention to the fact that there's a part of Coruscant that is just basically a beach.
Really?
And that there's like an oceanic part of Coruscant, but like it's so far away, and like there's no real reason to go to it.
Oh, wow.
Outside of just, hey, look, there's not like a 1,000-foot skyscraper over here. No, I agree with that. I like a healthy balance. Like I like how goofy it is that like most planets are just one single environment. Like your Tatooines and Hoths and stuff of that nature. But that was cool to see, like especially when you're going to look at Kessel as just as vile of a world as it is, where you have the royalty living in what, like you guys said, lush and very green and vibrant environment, and then you transition to like the labor force that is literally like in a huge dust cloud, enslaved, breaking their backs for the profit of these kings and gangbangers in Star Wars. It's very, it's very the classic unsubtle symbolism of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Or like here's a pretty castle in a forest. Here's a hole. Here's a dusty death hole of slaves, refining or mining and refining space cocaine. But that was very interesting. One of my things with Rafa and Trace is I think they would make great characters for like a Star Wars YA novel. And it's just, it's so
agreed.
strange putting them in the context of like Ahsoka's post-Jedi life. Like that's the thing that just keeps jarring me is I'm like, I would love content of just Rafa and Trace. Like I would enjoy like the high adventure swashbuckling, no real Jedi here, just us doing, space pirate stuff. I would enjoy that so much, but like it just keeps coming back. It keeps having to be Ahsoka's story, and then it'll start pulling towards Rafa and Trace, and then it has to like kind of like snap back to being about Ahsoka. And that for me is like my biggest complaint about this is I don't think they're balancing it quite right. And I think Rafa and Trace are cool characters, and I want to see more of them. But it's starting to like weigh on me, the kind of dissonance between what the two stories here are supposed to be. If that makes sense.
What are the two stories?
Like we're getting this cool story about Rafa and Trace being these roughnecks who have, been forced to brave level 1313 and, live through this era where the Republic and the Jedi, want to put on this face of really giving a shit about the little guy, but we know that they don't. We know that they couldn't care less. And I would want to see content about them braving the galaxy against all odds and, being self-made women in this galaxy, especially in its current state, because the only times we really get those like high adventure smuggler stories, it's always in the context of the Empire.
Yeah.
And like, and it's always really easy to root for them because they're working against the Empire that is, inherently totalitarian. Where I think if you have the Republic being the backdrop for that, you then get to tell the story of people who are rebelling and working for their own end in a galaxy that is essentially indifferent. It's kind of like that, quote from Doctor Strange, like an insignificant speck of dust in an indifferent universe. Where like that's kind of how I feel like people like Trace and Rafa are meant to feel by the Republic. The Republic is, for all intents and purposes, indifferent to their survival. That seeing them be like, you never cared, and you're fighting a confederacy that is just as, if not more corrupt than you. Like none of this matters. This is all a joke. This is just a ploy for power on both of your parts. I'ma do me. So I really like that. And I also
I'm not
like,
sure if we're gonna get that though.
That's what I'm saying is that like we're getting these nuggets of it with how Trace and Rafa are like forced to live in the galaxy. And like, I want to see more of that. I know we're not going to get a whole lot of it because it's Ahsoka's story. And that's my point is that like, I wish we could separate these. Like, I wish I would just want Trace and Rafa content, or I just want Ahsoka living without the Jedi. Cause I every time I get attached to seeing Trace and Rafa develop as characters, it's kind of yanked back by Ahsoka meddling with the situation. If that makes sense.
I think they're meant to propel Ahsoka's story.
They are. You're absolutely
That's their
right.
Purpose.
Yeah, and I get that. I've been piqued. They have piqued my interest as characters.
Really?
And like, I want to see more of them. That where their interaction can happen more organically, where you don't have Ahsoka in the room who is inherently causing all these fights between them. And the fact that the story has to keep moving towards, when is Ahsoka going to openly use her force powers? When is Ahsoka going to be noticed by the Republic again? And when is the Republic going to decide that they need Ahsoka's help with Mandalore? that like
During the Siege of Mandalore arc, probably.
yeah, but like we're all like moving towards that because and like that this story just keeps pushing us further and further to when Ahsoka has to, maybe not in name and maybe not officially, but when Ahsoka has to take up the title of Jedi again.
Yeah, it's true. But like, I think with 2 episodes left, I feel like, I mean, this is just me, but I feel like they can definitely, like Dave and whomsoever else wrote this arc, they probably could fit in the whole Trace and Roth character development with Ahsoka's adventures. But then again, I don't know if this was I don't know if we know anything about this arc.
I don't think there's anything out there for this one, no.
Okay.
I also definitely want to call attention to the scene where they flew past in the... I love the bit where they're all making fun of her for how shitty a name the Silver Angel is.
Yeah. It kind of is.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's adorable. I loved the callback to Return of the Jedi with Anakin. Whenever they fly past, like they recreated the shot of, it was Jar Jarrod, the transmission guy, and then Vader walking towards. I noticed that when I first watched it. I was like, oh, that's so good. That's clever.
Yeah, someone did that, like a side by side of that. I'll see if I can find it.
Well, Dave Filoni has always loved, anytime he gets a chance to, in some ways, some more subtle than others, tie Anakin back to Vader, he does. Because I think Filoni recognizes that there's a really weird dissonance between Vader and Anakin, just in the way that they carry themselves. That feels kind of strange. And like Dave Filoni has gone out of his way to have little moments of like Anakin just kind of pacing a command bridge with his hands behind his back, and certain lines of dialogue, which has always been the case. I remember back in the Clone Wars micro series, where they had, whenever Anakin was in the space battle with Ventress and he was like, I have you now. And I was like, yeah, say that Vader line. That makes me happy. But I like that little bit. I liked seeing Anakin's heart kind of sink a little bit, because how badly he wants to see her, and that he could definitely use it, especially knowing how close we are to 0 hour and him snapping a band. But I really enjoyed this episode on the whole. It was a lot of fun, and it was adventure heavy. I really want to hit Trace with a shovel.
Same.
But I also love her. Like I like this, spunky kind of hot-headed wannabe.
Yeah, she's very
space pirate,
excited.
Naive comes to mind.
I'd rather throw Rafa out of the
being rational.
Yeah,
out of the
It's
ship.
a nice
wait, guys, hold up. What were you saying, Levi?
I would rather put Rafa in space.
right. Absolutely.
That's fair. Because then Ahsoka could teach her.
Manipulative little John Lennon on the rooftop concert looking woman. Yeah, I can't stand her.
This very specific reference.
Very specific. Joel, you've been relatively quiet. What were your takeaways from the episode, aside from not being super fond of it?
My takeaways are pretty much what Levi was just saying. I absolutely despise Rafa, and like she's really getting on my nerves. And I mean, that being said, I also very much enjoy Trace a little bit, and the interaction that she has with Ahsoka. I think there's kind of this sisterly development. Like it's actually kind of funny how she's developing this relationship with Ahsoka rather than her own sister, because her own sister really isn't even looking out for her own well-being. She's kind of being neglected completely. And I like this. Excuse me. I like the character development, but I'm not very fond of the storyline and what they're doing. And the direction they're taking. I don't know. It's very weird to see Ahsoka in this kind of situation. So we'll just have to see. The last 2 episodes I I don't know. I just kind of watched it and was like, I'm not really interested right now. So I hope that the action picks up a little bit so that it pulls me in a little bit more.
So do we think that they're finally going to pull the trigger on them finding out that Ahsoka's the next Jedi in the next episode, or are they really going to save this for the 4th episode?
I think
they're going to find out she's a Jedi.
Yeah, I think they're going to do it in the next episode.
They're going to have to do a whole lot of nothing next episode if they're going to wait until the 4th to reveal that.
Or they just make Trace and Rafa look like complete idiots, and Ahsoka just does a whole lot of the Marty McFly, what the hell is that? And she like force pushes a bunch of pikes out of the way. Like, I don't know how these guys just all fell down like that. Let's go. That was like one thing, like with Fallen Order, for example, that I was so not looking forward to, was I did not know how much of the game was going to make me have to do the whole pretend you're not a Jedi thing, and how quickly that was going to get old. And I'm glad that it lasted all of about 30 seconds.
Tossed out the window.
Which I liked. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is me who, like, as a kid just got frustrated with games like Jedi Outcast and Knights of the Old Republic, where like I couldn't use the Force immediately, and I get like really tired really quickly of the whole like, we're gonna pretend that the Force isn't a thing yet. You can't be a Jedi yet. You can't be a Jedi yet. And I'm just like getting tired of this. I'm like, okay, Ahsoka, just tell them you can use the Force.
Yeah, I think because I haven't been exposed to that concept as much, I was sort of open to it in Fallen Order, but then when it didn't happen, I was like, okay, still a really solid opening. I think with Cal, I think just a little off track, I feel like with Cal's story, between when he gets to Braca as a kid and then Fallen Order, that could definitely be told in a comic. I would love to see that. Like him befriending Prof and him just trying to hide himself.
Yeah, and it would be good. I hate the whole pretend you can't use the Force thing. It weighs on me so much, especially when you know they're Force sensitive. Like if it's done as a big reveal.
Is it just in games or just across all media?
Just across all media. I get the same way with like, I mean, a little bit less so because the whole secret identity thing is more of a crucial detail with most superhero stories.
Yeah.
And like comic book stuff. But like the whole, like how stupid are your friends that they don't notice what you're doing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I was because I was thinking with Fallen Order, I thought there was going to be like a part of it where you have to hide your identity, but
lost a dime forever.
We didn't get that, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, but I'm like I said, I'm enjoying it so far. I like all the callbacks to Solo.
Yeah,
it brings all of that back to life. Very much enjoying it. Anybody else have any more thoughts on the episode?
Let's see. No.
No?
Yeah, I don't know. It was solid.
Spencer, any more
I
on...
didn't think the Pike was going to be swayed.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I'm like, there's no way. And he was. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that there wasn't like the very weird, like, kind of like in A New Hope when Obi-Wan seemingly only mind tricks the one stormtrooper. And I was glad the other Pike was like, fuck are you doing?
What?
Yeah, it's like, wait, this is highly irregular.
Yeah, I like that little bit, and how like the plan fell apart at the seams because Ahsoka thought she could just get away with the one, and it shows her an experience that Ahsoka is a high-level Padawan for all intents and purposes. She might as well be a knight, a very fresh knight, and it shows in the way that she carries herself, and the fact that she didn't account for the fact that like maybe it's going to take more than mind tricking just the one guy right in front of me.
Yeah.
So, I like seeing that,
to be fair, the two idiot sisters are the ones who got her in that predicament.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But, and it very much ties back to like the Jedi fortune cookie at the beginning. with the whole mistakes are often lessons learned too late
That's true.
mantra. So that's one thing that this season of Clone Wars has been very good at, is like that fortune cookie is it's like there's no subtlety. No, that makes it sound ham-fisted, but like they make the fortune cookies count.
Yeah.
And very much relate to the plot in a very unambiguous way. Spencer, any final thoughts on this episode?
No, I think we basically covered everything that I was.
Cool.
We lost you there at the end, but I think I got what you
yeah.
said.
Basically, that was it. You guys covered all what I had to.
All right. With that, that's all we have this week. So,
Did you know
Oh, sorry.
that Neanderthals sailed on the Mediterranean?
I did not know that.
Dope.
Mm-hmm.
With
Or at
that,
least crossed it.
I'm sorry. I keep accidentally cutting you off, Levi.
That's fine.
Where can the lovely people find you, Mr. Professor?
Twitter at Levi_bomb, Professor Levi. If you so wish. Yeah.
They should wish, because it's great content from you always.
I try. I don't. It's a lie.
I know you don't, and that's what
I
makes
don't
it great. It's so effortless. You're just so effortlessly clever. Connor, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
They can find me on Twitter at DepaBanana. They can find me on Instagram at ConmanJFO, and they can find me on Facebook, admin in the Alliance of Star Wars Fanatics. And that's about it.
Yeah, do yourselves a favor and check out Tau Swift. It's a lovely bunch of Star Wars fans who are pleasant to talk to for once in a while.
Yeah.
Joel, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
The lovely people can find me on Instagram at jbasenback photography and Basenbacon cosplay.
Hell yeah. Spencer, where can the lovely people find yourself?
You can find me on Instagram at SpenceMan Cosplays and on Twitter at SpenceMan49. How about you, Stubby?
You guys can find me. I was so enthusiastic. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. You can also find the Nerd Academy on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can check out our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where linked on that website is also our Patreon if you're feeling generous and want to throw in a couple credits and help your favorite nerds keep bringing you the nerdy content that you like so much. With that, thank you for listening. May the Force be with you always. And you do have homework this week, and it's watch the goddamn Tiger King. And that applies to everybody on the who's on
don't
the
die from the
podcast.
blue shadow virus.
Yeah, obviously,
Yeah,
don't die.
that as well.
Stay inside. Wash your hands. Please God, don't go outside. You idiots! Sweet Christ, what are you doing?
Don't go to.
Don't go to where?
Let's.
Outside your house if you have a yard.
Yeah.
That would be good. Fresh air is good for you.
Yes, it is. May the Force be with you all.